afternoon. You're watching Business World Live. I'm Jes Delos Santos. Let's take a look at how the local bourse closed today, Monday. And not a good start to the week here for the local index. Shares plummet as COVID-19 cases breach the 3,000 mark for the third straight day. The PSEI ending lower by 1.8% to close the day at 6,756.92. That again as cases reached 3,400 on Sunday, with 3 straight days of infections within that level. Total cases in the country now at 594,000. Zooming in on Metro Manila here, cases have been on the uptick at levels seen in July last year. That's according to the Diokno research group, but that spread is quicker than how it was in 2020. NCR, according to Okta, averaged over 1,000 cases daily. That's from February 28 to March 6. This now puts in limbo plans to ease restrictions in NCR to the laxest status that is a modified general community quarantine. That's not the only thing driving the sell-off in the market today. BSP Governor Ben Diokno has said that inflation may exceed target in the months to come before tempering in the second half of the year. Looking at how some specific stocks here performed, only 4 of the 30 members ending the day in the positive territory, with Emperador leading the pack here up by 0.4%. ICTSI likewise also in the green, as well as Aboitiz and First Gen. But as for the losers, SM Prime pulling the index the most here. This is Metro Manila mayors reached a consensus not to reopen cinemas, still due to the increasing infections in the capital. SM Prime leading declines among mall operators, edging lower by close to 3% here to 35 pesos and 50 centavos a share. Mega World also declining 3.75% to 3 pesos and 59 centavos a share, while our Robinson's Land also in the red, down 2.7% to 19 pesos a piece. Our worst performer for the day, though, BPI falling by over 5%, heading declines among lenders. This is soured loans climbed in January to 3.7%. That's from the 3.6% the month before and 2.16% the year prior, following the non-extension of a 60-day moratorium on debt payment. BPI ending the day at 82 pesos and 10 centavos a share, while BDO also declining here, as you can see, down by 4.33% to 106 pesos a share. The whole counter ended the day lower by 3.3%. Now off to some specific stocks, starting with Bloomberry, tumbling the most in more than a week. That as a full year net loss came at 8.3 billion pesos compared to a 9.9 billion profit in 2019. Consolidated net revenue was also 62% lower in 2020 at 17.8 billion pesos. Gross gaming revenue also declining by as much, plunging 62% to 22.6 billion pesos. The casino operators' 2020 figures severely affected by the pandemic, as Soler's operations were halted from March to June. Even up to now, the casino has been operating at a limited capacity in all its businesses. Bloomberry tanked as much as 3.8% earlier in the day, but pared back those losses, somehow ending the day in the red, still down 0.6%, now priced at 7 pesos and 80 centavos a share. Now also joining the bloodbath today, Dito Telecom, that's despite the official rollout of its services today in 15 areas in Visayas and Mindanao. The third telco player is giving away 3,000 SIMs to frontliners in Visayas and Mindanao. Their welcome offer for users is only data, only call and text to fellow Dito subscribers, with investors not picking up the signal here for Dito, shares taking a whopping 8.8% dive to 13 pesos and 90 centavos a share. The new player says that they're rolling out in NCR in a few weeks' time and that they're on track to meet second-year commitments. Dito is eyeing to be commercially available nationwide by the second quarter. Chairman and CEO Dennis Uy says their launch hopes to pave the way for real competition among telco space. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Senate, Congress, and our regulators, knowing all too well that a good number of people were thinking that we would eventually fail. They were wrong. Here we are. In the following weeks, you will see us rise in various areas of the country. But today, March 8th, we first give back to where it all began. We send a message to the people of the Philippines, wherever they may be, that dito is more than just a telco. We want the entire country to know na dito na kami, dito na tayo.
Now, here are other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. Subsidies provided for state-run agencies rose 14% to 230 billion pesos in 2020, exceeding its reduced budget by more than half. The Bureau of Treasury said close to half of last year's subsidies went to PhilHealth and the SSS, augmenting the two agencies' pandemic-related programs. Other agencies which saw increased subsidies in 2020 are the National Housing Authority, the National Food Authority, and the National Electrification Administration. The National Irrigation Administration and the Land Bank of the Philippines, meanwhile, saw reduced budgetary support. Budget for GOCC subsidies this year has been lowered further to 148 billion pesos. From the Philippine Star, the House panel on banks and financial intermediaries has approved the measure seeking to double banks' deposit insurance from the current 500,000 pesos. House Bill 8818 seeks to raise the maximum deposit insurance coverage, or MDIC, per depositor per bank to 1 million pesos. A committee member says the bill would benefit millions of depositors and would allow less adjustments on deposit insurance to reflect general price increases. The last adjustment was made over a decade ago in 2009. Under the measure, the Philippine Deposit Insurance will have authority to increase the MDIC to an amount indexed to inflation and other economic indicators every 3 years. It will also become an attached agency of the central bank. The 60-day price cap on pork and poultry stays. That's going to be until April 8th, setting aside proposals to impose a standard retail price instead. To discuss that, we have on the show once again Agriculture Assistant Secretary Noel Reyes. Good afternoon, Asik Reyes.
Good afternoon, Chester, and to all our viewers. Good afternoon po.
All right, Asik, give us an idea first. Why stick with the price cap instead of implementing the proposed SRP on pork?
Because the Secretary William Dar said, lifting it, meaning will undeniably result in a dramatic rise in prices of pork and chicken, given that the African swine fever crisis is still raging and thus continues to impact on local production of hogs nationwide. So that is why we need to augment the current shortfall, estimated at 400,000 metric tons this year from ASF-free countries. So we will maintain, as he said, we will maintain in the remaining days until April 8th, as prescribed under Executive Order 124.
All right. But given that Asik Reyes, 1 month into the implementation of the price cap on pork and poultry, did you see prices actually normalizing?
Yes, it has gone down from a high of 450, 400 to about 320 to 360 for liempo. And then for Casim and Piguet, that's about 270 to 320. That's nearing our ceiling price level. Jester?
All right. Well, Asik Reyes, but at the same time, when you try to take a look at the inflation figures for the month of February, prices of meat have gone down in NCR. Yes, that's correct. But there's been an uptick as well in the provinces. These provinces, of course, helping plug the supply gap in NCR. Is this a cause for concern for the DA?
No, it's not. It's not caused by lack of supply of pork, but again, the overall prices of food commodities in those regions. Okay. So
Right, sir.
we're gathering surplus pork, surplus hogs from those regions.
Mm-hmm. So that again, the uptick that we saw, at least for the month of February in provinces or areas outside NCR, that's primarily brought by the surplus, you mean?
No, it's Jester. the uptake was due to other prices of food items in those regions, not because we siphoned off or they sent their hogs here in Metro Manila.
Okay, now of course we are targeting a lifting of the price cap come April 8th. Is that true? Or at least, let me rephrase that question. What would it take for a lifting of the price cap come April 8th?
That's the natural course of the executive order. It's good for 60 days, so it will end on April 8th. So thereafter, we hope to see normalization of supply and prices due to the influx of pork imports from ASF-free countries. So again, we'd like to maintain the delivery of hog and carcasses from other surplus regions to Metro Manila, and then augmented by pork from surplus countries like US, Canada, Spain, and the Netherlands.
Okay, but what then would warrant an extension of the EOR, an extension of the price cap?
We're simply studying the matter right now, Jester, and we'd like to see normalization of supply. And once the secretary has instructed our team to go and study it if it needs to be extended or not. But again, the executive order only applies to a 60-day period.
Okay, now at the same time, we've been noticing as well, you have other sources of protein experiencing or at least seeing a spike in prices, galunggong to be exact. What's driving that, sir?
The prices of galunggong has risen up because of lean season for galunggong and other fishes. And now imports are coming in, and the closed fishing season was lifted already. So again, we'd like to see a normalization of supply starting this week and the coming weeks.
Okay, at least that is expected to normalize in the near term. But as for rice, the DTI looking to include the staple in a list of essential goods exempt from restrictive trade measures. What trade barriers are we currently experiencing here with the commodity?
We favor the easing of tariffs, okay? Because easing of tariffs will discourage smuggling, and of course, if the tariff is low, it will discourage smuggling. If it's high, it's the other way around. So again, we'd like to see more sources of rice, not only from Thailand and Vietnam.
More sources of rice. Do we have any areas in mind here other than the ones that you mentioned, sir?
India is one.
Okay. Now, but all in all, are we saying that the supply at least of rice should be enough at least in the near term or for the entire 2021?
Yes, supply of rice is stable, including prices ranging from, say, as you can see, 40, 36 regular milled, 38 for well milled, and special rice 40 and above. So again, we're looking at the stable prices. I'd say 37 pesos per kilo for regular rice, and we're seeing a good harvest this dry season.
All right. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Agriculture Assistant Secretary Noel Reyes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you to Jester on behalf of Secretary William Dar and Department of Agriculture. Magandang hapon po. Thank you so much.
And those are the biggest news this trading day, March 8, 2021. Catch Business World live again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I am Jes Delos Santos. We are One News.